Hello! Do you want to learn how to draw this absolutely adorable little turtle? If so, you're going to need something to draw with, something to erase any mistakes with, something to outline with, and a nice clean piece of paper to doodle on. Let's get started! Let's get working on that adorable turtle. So we are going to start with our paper horizontally. So our paper horizontal means that it is going to be shorter, but it is going to also be wider. And that means that we are going to have a nice wide plane to draw on. We are drawing a little cartoon turtle. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fill up kind of this middle section with his shell. So I am going to start by making a nice tall hill shape. And I want to kind of make it so it's even in the front and the back. So I don't want my lines to be too uneven. I want to keep them even, and I want some space down here because I am going to curve the bottom of his shell. So now that we have that part in, I'm going to turn my paper sideways and I'm going to create just a small curve here. I don't want it to be too big. I don't want it to look like a U. I just want my picture to kind of look right now like a rock. You know, when a turtle peeks itself into that shell, it kind of just plumps down and it looks like a little rock. So we want the first part of our drawing to just look like a rock. Next, we're going to come over here to the end and we are going to curve up and out and back in. And this is going to be our little turtle's head. So we've got his whole head right here just kind of peeking out from the bottom of his shell. We don't want this line to be too far out when it comes backwards toward the shell. We want to try to keep it as close as we can to here, but just enough to give him enough space to show he's got a little neck there. And I'm going to add his eye way down here. I just want him to look like a sad little turtle. Maybe he's having a rough time. I am not going to draw a mouth or anything extra on my turtle. You are more than welcome to. It is your doodle, but I am going to leave my turtle just the way he is. Now I'm going to come in and add his little legs. So I want to be really close up here to his neck. So I'm actually going to start right where his neck finishes here. And I'm going to come down. And I want to curl out just a little bit here at the end. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I want to just curl out a little bit at the end. And then I'm going to create a rounded bottom. And then I'm going to come all the way back here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come down and curl out. And I want to kind of be even with that front foot. And I'm going to curl out on the other side. I'm going to connect my two lines. And then I'm going to come on the other side and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come down and I'm going to curve. And in the front up here, I'm going to come down and I'm going to curve. And my back legs are not even with my front legs because I want it to look like they're in the back. They're on the other side of his body, so they're not going to be in the same spot. Next, I'm going to come to the very back here and I'm going to draw a little triangle shape coming out and it's going to curve back in and it's going to meet up with his leg right there. So now I've got his little feet and I'm actually going to add a couple little like toenails on my feet. Kind of like my elephant had, just some really tall round hills because I want to just show that that's the front of his feet. Now we need to decorate this shell. So I'm going to come up to the top and I'm going to come in at an angle on both sides. So I'm kind of creating what's almost, if it connected, it would come down to a V. And then I'm going to draw a straight line across. So I've got my two diagonal lines down and then they meet in the middle with a nice straight line. I'm going to leave a little space and I'm going to copy my line over here. And I'm going to come over here and copy my line over here. I do want a gap because we want to be able to make that shell look to our little turtle. Then I'm going to kind of curve down here. So I'm going to come down, and then I'm kind of going to do the same thing. I'm going to come in at a little angle. So now he's got two little lines on his shells, two of those little. And we're going to come out here with a nice diagonal. And then I'm going to come down at an angle. And I'm kind of making like a circle shape going around here. And then I'm going to come down here at an angle. So now we've got 1, 2, 3 little parts of his shell. Same thing, I'm going to leave a little gap, come at the angle. I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. So I'm going to come here at an angle. And then I'm going to connect my two lines here in the middle. So now I've got 4 little designs on his shell. I'm going to add a little heart on my turtle. So I'm going to come right here. And I think I'm going to draw just a little heart kind of on his bum. And I'm going to draw that in first because I want to be able to work around with the shell so my heart is on top of my shell. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do my angled line. And then I probably would do the other line maybe right here. So it's going to hide behind my shell. And then this one can come at an angle. So this is just another spot of his shell. And I'm going to come out here with this line. And then I'm going to come down and connect to it. Now I've got this kind of big shape here in the middle, so I can go through and I can make my lines for that shape just to kind of finish off the middle of his shell. And make sure you're leaving a little gap between all of those shapes so that way we can do that background part of his shell and we can do that shell itself color. So we should have 2 different colors for like our little turtle shell. So there we go, he's got his little shell. I love him. So now maybe I'm going to draw some grass. Maybe he's in his cage. Be creative. Make him however you'd like. Where is your turtle at? What is your turtle doing? Does it need a heat lamp? Does it need something else drawn in here? Or is he just walking around outside? Maybe I add some bushes in the background. Maybe he's just taking a stroll in the middle of the day. Maybe he's at the park. I'm just going to add a couple bushes in the back. That also helps break up how much sky I have to color. So that kind of helps make my picture kind of go in sections, and it's going to help my coloring feel like it's going to go a little bit faster. So now that he is all drawn and he is ready to go, let's go ahead and get this little turtle colored. Alright, we got our cute little turtle colored. I am going to go in now with some other colors to kind of add a little dimension to my doodle. So I'm going to start down here on the bottom on the grass. I colored my grass a light color just like his shell. So I'm going to take this darker green and I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a little shadow where his tail would come down and under his little feet, under his body, and under where his head lies. So I'm just going to go through with a little bit of green, add a little darker green just where the turtle is standing, just to give it a little bit of value down on the ground, so that way he looks like he's standing down there. I'm also going to go add just a little bit in the background, and I chose to do orange bushes. I figured it could be a nice contrast with my green turtle, the orange, but it could be fall time. I mean, it can be any time. It does not have to be a nice green bush. They could be on their way out. Maybe it's the end of the season. Maybe the little turtle is headed off on a trip, whatever we want to do. So I'm going to go on my orange with a little brown. And I'm just going to add a little brown to those bushes just so they're not just straight orange. And I'm just kind of coloring over all of them. I'm not really doing a shadow specific with the brown. I'm just kind of adding a little brown. You could even go over them with a little purple, a little green, any additional color just to help kind of give that fall look to that part of your picture. My sky ended up blue. I'm not entirely sure. I think yellow probably would have been a better choice, but I did go with blue. So now I'm going to take my brown and I'm going to go in and add some value to my turtle. And I'm not using a darker green because I'm hoping that this will also help break up all of the green in my picture. So where his shell overlaps his leg, I'm coloring just lightly with a little bit of brown. Where this leg overlaps that littler leg from in the back, I'm going to add a little bit of brown over the entire leg. And on this leg, I'm going to add a little brown to the top. Up where his neck is, I'm going to color just a little bit around his neck, and then I'm going to kind of fade it into his head. I can also add a little bit down here where his mouth would be, just to show off how that turns. That's up to you. I'm going to do the entire outside of the shell and just fade in a little bit with the brown, and that's just to help show the curve to my little turtle shell. So I'm not going to like outline each little bit of his shell. If you want to go around each little bit and give it some shadow, you're more than welcome to. I am just adding a little bit of shadow towards the bottom of his shell, up and around that top corner there. And I just figure that's just enough to help break up some of the color. And then the very last thing that I want to do is his little heart. Oh, I love that little heart on his shell. I am going to fade out with the brown at the bottom of the heart in kind of a V shape. And that's just to give my little heart here just a little bit of value to show that it's like stuck on top of his shell. So it's not necessarily a part of his shell. It's just a little extra doodle on his shell just to add a little something extra. So I hope that you had a lot of fun joining me making our cute little baby turtle. And I hope to see you again soon for another doodle. I loved today, and I hope that you loved today too. Please like and subscribe, and I cannot wait to see you again. Happy doodling.